Hello and welcome back to the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast. Today we're doing a very, very exciting collab with Funny Shapes with F1 Lottie. Hello.
Hi.
So, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We've already touched on this in Lottie's episode, but yeah, overall it wasn't stunning. I thought the midfield battles were quite good, quite interesting. But yeah, any
Yeah,
additional?
overall it was like a pretty okay race. Not much happening.
But there was something significant happening in the paddock, the Horner situation. And we will probably be saying allegedly in this just because, and I'm giving some context to viewers, because if you just go straight up, oh, so and so did this to so and so, there is a risk of getting in trouble. And neither of us want that, do we?
We don't have money for that.
So he has been under investigation for allegedly sexually harassing employee, but there was a lot of controversy because some of the drivers have been saying at the end of the day it's not that big of a deal or words to that effect, which as women is quite disappointing because, you know, when you go to work, they've actually been saying, oh, like we're just trying to do our job. Well, so was the woman. So kind of giving ignorance.
Yeah, it's absolutely disappointing to hear like some of the people that you look up to just saying that it's none of their business and they're just there to drive, which is not true. They have influence and they have a platform they could use to. I'm not saying that they could just say, okay, Horner is the person to blame, but they could say that they were with the woman in the sport and they interact with the woman in the sport every single day and they could support.
Yeah, people were like saying on Twitter and stuff about how um they were really disappointed in some of the drivers. And then people were like, well, you do realize they have to be careful about what they said. But then you've got James Vowles, Zach Brown, Lewis Hamilton all speaking out about the alleged victim. And then it's like if they're doing it without any repercussions, why can't the rest of the grid do that?
Yeah, because those three, like, they didn't say, oh, he's at fault and he shouldn't be here. No, they said that they supported the woman, and the news were like very disappointing to be circulating around the paddock. But they were waiting for the FIA to make their decision, but they weren't like just say, oh no, it's a lot of noise and I'm not saying anything about it.
Yeah, I think it proves that like women in motorsport still have a long way to go because, you know, certain drivers said it and then suddenly, 2 hours later and they were in the F1 Academy paddock supporting the F1 Academy drivers. And it's like, how do you switch up so quickly from literally saying, oh, women and girls, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, woo, go. And then like it was literally International Women's Day. And like the literally day before they were like, yeah, it's just noise. We're not saying anything about this. And then the next day it was like, go women.
Yeah, it's absolutely like sad that on one day they're like, oh, it's none of our business, and the other they're like, oh, we support women, let's go. And it's insane.
It is just really disappointing to see how people with millions and millions of followers, probably like way over 100 million followers combined if you had all the 20 drivers together. But yeah, like you've got so many millions of followers and you can't even speak out about something that's affected someone who apparently, because Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo said stuff, apparently they would have known this woman because of their links with Red Bull. So it's like someone you potentially know has been directly affected, and you're just going, yeah, it's none of my business. It's like,
Exactly, they have a platform with, and they could use that platform. And not even only Danny and Alex, I think most of them would have crossed paths with the woman because she was Christian's PA, if I'm not wrong. And they could have like talked to her multiple times in the paddock because overall, like, it's a small paddock and everyone, I think, knows each other. And instead of supporting her and saying that they were with like the woman that wanted to work in the sport and the ones that already do, no, they were like, oh, I just want to drive.
yeah, I think Laura Winter was quite good about it. She was like did her little segment on F1 TV, and she like was like really bringing positive light to women in motorsports, and she was like really like, we all have a place here, we all deserve to be where we are, and the fact that some of these people have dealt with it like this is just appalling.
Yeah, and if you looked at her face, you could see that she was disappointed that she had to say like it was a hard time to be a woman in F1 and in motorsport because she has been the like female presenter in F1 for like 2 years now, like full time. And she talks to the drivers, she talks to the team principals like all the time. And now a situation like this happens, and they're like, I don't care, and it's not my business. And you could see that she was like a bit sad about the whole situation, but she did amazing on her like little speech.
Yes, and I think the rumors about Christian Horner allegedly being fired by the Australian Grand Prix from Red Bull, I think if he's bringing that much like bad vibes or that many bad vibes to the paddock and to the team, because he has not been shown in a good light at all. He was very strongly opinionated, and obviously we saw the beef between he and Toto Wolff, and that absolute classic clip off DTS where Toto's like, "Oh look, it's his little fanboys in the front row." But I
Yeah.
think if the punishment should fit the crime. We don't know 100% what happened. Probably none of us will ever know that. But if it has happened, then he should be dealt with accordingly.
Again, it's just like disappointing. And I don't know if he's actually going to be fired because before we had the news saying that he was cleared, there were like so many rumors saying that he was going to leave by himself on Tuesday, on Friday, on like multiple days, and it never happened. And I think the only way he's actually going to leave if they make him leave, because I don't think he's like, okay, I did something wrong, I'm leaving. I don't think he will ever do that.
Well, I saw that he was trying to buy out someone else from Red Bull so he would own like the majority stake. And so realistically, no one could fire him. And it's like, I think you've messed up when you do that behind your entire team's back. If that's like makes sense.
Yeah, I think he could definitely do that. He's a man to do that and be like, you can't fire me, which is like, do you know that your team is like right now the biggest team in the sports, and all the bad press doesn't help your team, even though you have like the best car. Like if all the press is like against you, your team is like gonna sink. And even Max is that, which is like a big person as sport, very controversial person, let's be honest, because he's done some very weird things. But even Max is that is a person that did some things in his life. Is like he needs to leave, or either Red Bull will sink. I think that has to say something about the whole Christian situation.
Yes. Shall we move on to some more lighter subjects?
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you're quite big on TikTok. How did you sort of like get started with the content?
It's kind of funny because I started watching F1 on the beginning of the 2022 season, and I always like wanted to have a platform to share like about my life and just like what I like. And when I got into F1, I was like, okay, I want to share about my love for the sport. And I was posting like a few videos on my like main account, but they were going absolutely nowhere. And just like one random day in 2022 was like the beginning of the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. I was like, okay, but what if I just start an F1 account? And it went well. I think by the end of the first week, I had like 500 followers, which is like insane. I was like, what's happening? And then last year in January, I was like, should I start a podcast? I posted that video, and a lot of people were like, yeah, start it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to start it and see what happens. And I think it has worked out pretty well.
Yes. So my story is a little bit different. So I've been watching F1 for about a million years now. Um, and I applied to a different podcast who shall remain anonymous. And so I was just lay there some like random Sunday. I think it was the 28th of March, and I started my own podcast. And then afterwards, I started the social media because, I need a platform to talk about where I can say my opinions without it sort of affecting my podcast and affecting potential guests. And yeah,
Mhm.
here we are.
Yeah, I think it was such an amazing thing. It was like out of nowhere, and when I saw like the follower count just like go up, I was like, okay, so I think I'm doing something right. And then when I got like my first hate comments, I was like, okay, I guess this is what like everyone has been talking about. And I'll never understand like why people hate so much on girls that create content about F1, and just like it's just for fun. And I'm just here to like maybe report a few things about the race, and even like about the gossip part on like when Charles posts like a photo dump, and I'm like, oh my god. And there's always a comment like, woman. I'm like, okay, but why can't I enjoy both parts of the sport? Why can't I enjoy the racing, but also enjoy the fact that they're hot and we can all admit that?
But like on my private accounts, I eat up these gossip pages. They're so stupid. Some of the things they come up with, you're generally like, have you just put like names in a random name generator and made it up? But like, F1 since it started has been like a glamorous sport. So obviously there's gossip's going to follow that, and when there's gossip, it makes good content, and it makes me laugh some of it, honestly. But like, yeah, I just think yesterday, because I made a jokey reel about the boys at school never look at me, but these guys do, and it was F1 drivers seeing my stories, which, I was really fangirling. I was like, oh my God, some of the drivers I look up to have seen my story. And someone went photoshopped. I was like, you genuinely think I have the time, effort, energy, skills to Photoshop that? Like, no. What do I achieve from Photoshopping it?
Like, why would anyone just Photoshop like F1 drivers watching their stories? That makes zero sense. It's like, do you think I have the time for that? Like, it doesn't make any
Literally,
sense.
like, if I'm on Photoshop, I'm just messing around trying to make people's faces all wonky. Like, and then he literally kept telling me about how my thing was Photoshopped. So in the end, I blocked him. I like very rarely block people, but if they're just generally stupid, I just generally block them because it's like, you're bringing me down to try and make yourself look better. Like, what's that achieving here?
Yeah, one time I had like a video saying like how I got into F1, and how I think it was like always coming because my grandfather was like very into cars, and his nickname was literally Ford, and like everyone knew him as Ford because he worked with Ford and all of that. And I was like, I knew this was coming, and when I was little, I always played with cars and not with dolls. And some like guys started commenting, yeah, that's how you ruin the sport. And I'm like, why? Because I got into the sport a bit late. Like I read a book series. I was like, okay, I love this. I started watching it, created an account which I love, and have made so many friends like you, Tiana from the Field to the Track, and so many others. And I'm happy. And why can't I share my story about getting to the sports? And then a lot of people were defending me on the comments, and he was like, oh no, because these women only watch the sport because of Charles or because of like Landon. Like, okay, Charles is my favorite driver. And it was like from the first race, I was like, okay, I like him and I will support him no matter what. Okay, he's cute. I'm not saying that he's the ugliest guy ever. No, but when he does bad, I literally cry, and my whole family's like, "You need to stop with that. Like, why are you crying? Because a driver crashed." And I'm like, I don't know. I can't control it, and I wouldn't do that if I was watching a sport for because they're hot. And it doesn't make sense because they wear a helmet like the majority of the time.
Literally, well, similar to that. So I'm an Oscar Piastri supporter. If you ask, like, if someone comments on my Instagram, oh, who do you support? I'll be like Oscar. They always ask what team I support, and I'm like, I don't really support a team. Anyways, yeah. So the Oscar was actually the first like big name driver to see my story. And my mum thought I was having like a heart attack or something because I was so excited. And like, I think I might have cried, I cannot lie, because I've looked up to him for years and I've like watched him throughout his career through F3, F2, F1, that weird period between F2 and F1. And it's when someone you look up to like interacts with you, and like when Pierre Gasly like liked one of my messages that I sent, I was like, oh my God, like this is unreal. Like I think, the Italian men have a little like Charles Leclerc homage, let's say.
They're like crazy for Charlotte. And we can't be like, they see Charlotte and they're like, that's God. God doesn't exist. God is Charles Leclerc. Why can't we do that with our favorite drivers? And not even only the drivers. Like I remember last year I posted a story with Will Buxton and Laura Winter about they were doing something. And when they reposted my story, they both reposted my story, and I was like, "Oh my God, like what's happening?" And it was insane. And it's like I watch the sport, I admire so many people in it. Why can't I be happy that they noticed me and that they interacted with me?
Literally, like I know she's like not as well known as these, but do you know Live Laugh Lids on TikTok?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love her.
I posted about her on International Women's Day last year, and I was like, I think she's really cool. I think she's really funny. She reposted it. I was like, oh my God, we are best friends now. Obviously, I've never met the girl, but Live Laugh Lids, if you're watching this, give me a call.
We love you. It's like there's so many girls in the sport that I admire, and I've made so many friends through it. Like I have a group chat with girls that we're from different parts of Portugal, but we've created such a good group of friends, and we never met each other, but we always like talk, and now we talk not only about F1 but like our lives, and we never met, but they brought me those friendships. Tiana from the Filter Track, she's always commenting on my posts. I comment on hers, and like it's such a good friendship. And we never met. She's literally on the other side of the world, but it's so good. Like I made so many friends because my friends, like my best friend, she if I make her watch a race, she will because it's me. But the majority of them does not know anything about F1, and having people that I can just like talk about it and understand. And if like Charles posts a picture with like something big, I can just like be, oh my God, this happened. And I see like a rumor, I'm like, this happened, and where let's talk about it. And I made so many friends that I've never met, but they're so like important to me right now. And even like one of my friends, she sent me a bunch of friendship bracelets with F1, and I was like, that's so cute. And like we never met, but we talk like almost every day, and
Yeah.
that's like means the world to me.
I like I go to a few of like the British motorsports events, like the British GT, British touring cars, British F4, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And one of my lovely followers, shout out to dear Halo underscore lover, came over and asked for a photo with me. And I was like, oh my God, I've made it in life. Like people know who I am. Like admittedly, we knew we were gonna potentially see each other and we were sort of DMing about it. But like, have you ever had anyone like be like, oh my God, like, are you Lottie?
No, because I live on a very small island,
Yeah.
which it's like maybe because of that. But I feel like if that happens to me, I'm gonna be like me, like you want a picture with me, but why? Um, which is gonna be like an insane moment if it ever happens. But yeah, we don't have like much racing things here. We have like one like big event which is like rally cars, and it's like very big. And then we have like a few like smaller ones. Like this weekend there was one, and I could hear the cars like going on the street above my house, and I was like, little cars, I love that. And but like big racing things we don't have. We have like a big karting track, which like there's a lot of competitions, but I never went there to like watch a race, which I need to do. We have like two big karting tracks. One is like from the like actual carts, and one is like the small track for like the little toy ones, which is like, why do you need a track for that? But whatever. But yeah, I think if that ever happens to me, I'm gonna be like mind blown. Now I'm gonna try to find something because I really want to go to a race, but it's not cheap at all, and I want to go like to Spain because I think it's like the cheapest one in the like Central European part, because I would love to go to Silverstone. It's like crazy expensive. But like that's the goal. In Monaco, like the day that I attend the Monaco Grand Prix, my life is like complete.
Yeah, literally. Like I was looking at Silverstone prices and then I thought, oh yeah, I'll look at Paddock Club because I can just imagine, you know. And then I added and it was like I think it was like 25 grand or something per person. And then you added a hotel room and the hotel's actually like 6,000, 10,000 pound. And I was like, hotel room, a hotel.
It's insane. Like sometimes when I'm just bored, I'm like, okay, let's see F1 tickets. And I go to Monaco and I'm like, oh, VIP tickets, of course, because I can afford that.
Yeah.
It's
So
like 3,000 per person. I'm like, oh, okay. I can watch it on the TV and it's like fun. Like 3,000 for a ticket, like for a person. It's like insane. Okay, it's Monaco, but it's like, okay,
I
I'm
just
staying.
don't understand. Like, I get that, you know, it's designed for the super rich, but how can they justify? Like, does like Charles Leclerc come in midway through the race and serve you Ferrari Trento sparkling wine with diamond encrusted glasses and gold flakes? No, you get it from
Yeah,
like a waiter. Not that there's anything wrong with being a waiter. I'm technically a waiter, but it's expensive, man.
it's really expensive. Like the Vegas tickets were like 100,000. It's like who's having like that money to wait? Not waste, because okay, if you're like a really big fan, but like 100,000 for a race, it's like so expensive. And I get it that it's like a very rich sport, but it's
Mm.
like okay, but we're not rich, and like we want to go to the races. And the thing that pisses me off the most about the Grand Prix in the US, it's seeing the get ready with me. It's like, get ready with me for F1. I'm like, but why are you going?
Yeah,
You
like
don't think.
no hate to like Alex Earl. I actually didn't know who she was at the time. Or that Alfa Romero girl. That I'm just like,
Yeah, like I follow them, and when she like, says the Alfa Romero, I was like, no, I'm done.
I
I'm so done.
I made a video about this and I got so much hate for it. I was like, why would you invite people who have no clue about the sport to the sport? Why would you not invite me? But like no, like you know, F1 Tony obviously gets invited, but like there's so many other content creators who don't get the chance. Why not invite them? Give them a platform, you know. Tarte Cosmetics, obviously. I don't even
Yeah,
know
like
why,
why is Tart making a brand trip to F1? Like,
literally, because that would have cost Tarte Cosmetics so much money because they all had the VIP paddock passes. I don't understand it, but each their own.
they like I think their brand trips are like the craziest ones, and I don't understand where they're getting that much money. But like, why is like a beauty company making a trip to F1? If it was like, okay, let's combine both worlds, like Charlotte Tilbury now is part of an F1 Academy team, and that's great because every not all of the drivers are like, okay, we're like kind of men, we're like racing, and mixing like the makeup world with the racing world, it's awesome. But like, if Tarte wanted to make a brand trip to the Grand Prix, it's like fine, but invite creators that like both things. Like I don't know if you know Madeline White.
Oh my God, I love her.
She's amazing, and she combines like the both worlds, like the makeup slash fashion world, but she goes to the races and goes for free with the teams, but she knows what's happening. And when Ferrari crashes or does like something bad with the strategy, she's like, I'm just like Ferrari's strategy or something. And I think that's what like the creators that go to the Grand Prix should look like. They know like about fashion and about makeup, but also love the sport and are there like and enjoy, not just being like their sets. Like on the last race last year, Rihanna was in the garage with sunglasses and just like that, like, yeah, that's fun. Like you don't
Literally.
understand anything.
I've always wondered, right? You know how obviously you're Portuguese. Why do you choose to do your content in English?
Maybe because I have like an accent, like because people from there have a pretty strong accent, but like I don't have a strong, like very strong accent. If I want to do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And if I want to piss like people from the mainland, I will put like my accent as strong as I can. But I wanted to reach as many people as I wanted,
Yeah.
and it worked. Even like on my main page, the one that I just like posted all like videos and like silly things. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this in English, but it didn't reach like outside of Portugal, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start the F1 account in English and see where it goes. And it went like to Australia. It was just like insane. The US, and I'm like, okay, so it worked. And I feel weird doing content in Portuguese. I think I made like one video in Portuguese in my whole like F1 account. And also, I watch F1 in English. Like, I couldn't explain you anything about F1 in Portuguese. Like, not even saying like season in Portuguese. I'm like, yeah, it's the F1 season. Like, I can't translate the things. And I'm like, okay, let's just do it in English. And I think it worked.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious, like, because obviously we've got like a couple of multilingual like presenters and stuff. But I was like, oh, I suppose it does make quite a bit of sense.
Yeah, I wanted to reach like as many people as I could. And I also love talking in English. Like if I can, I'll talk English like with everyone. And I mix a lot of Portuguese with English like in my day-to-day life. And sometimes that pisses off like a lot of people. And I'm like, I don't care because sometimes my brain thinks in English and I just can't help it. And having people that understand English in my life is like a must. And thank God my best friend like is like me, and our conversations are like half in Portuguese, half in English, and then we're like clowning about Taylor Swift, and we're like, yeah, half in Portuguese, half in English, which is like okay because if I know both languages, I need to use them, and I really enjoy talking in English, which is okay, I guess.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast, and thank you to Lottie for doing this interview. See you next week. Bye.